Did you know Munchlax is the strongest baby Pokemon? Did you know water is the most common type? Oh, you did? Good. Then I'm going to tell you some facts about Pokemon that I bet you actually don't know. This is part 6 in my series where I go out of my way to search for the most obscure Pokemon knowledge I can find. Make sure to leave a comment and let me know how many of these you are actually aware of. And without any more delay, my name is Finn, and let's do this. I'm going to start this video off with undoubtedly one of the most interesting facts on this list. I've talked about shiny Pokemon plenty on this channel, but I have to say this next shiny fact is the coolest one I've ever found. Shinies changing in the main games is a bit of an anomaly. Sure, a bunch changed from Generation 2 on like the classic Charizard and Smeargle, but what about past this? The amount of shinies actually changing after this point is slim to none, and when it happens, the change is usually very subtle. But in June 2013, we witnessed this happen. During a pre-release footage showcase of Pokemon X and Y, they displayed a shiny Gogoat that has never been seen since. Here is Gogoat's shiny now, and here is the pre-release version. Although it never made it into the game, this definitely marks a unique circumstance where Game Freak not only displayed a shiny Pokemon during a showcase, but then rectified and changed that shiny later, breaking the norm in so many more ways than one. And I wonder if this Gogoat was even shown intentionally, or if it was a mistake. If you've ever taken a dive into Pokemon ROM hacks, you may have played one of my personal favorite, Renegade Platinum, which is a difficulty hack for Pokemon Platinum with insane battles, easy EV training, and tons of amazing changes. But interestingly enough, it seems that the Pokemon Company may have taken a liking to this ROM hack as well, because there is a possible Easter egg to these games hidden in the Sinnoh remakes Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. For the past few generations, TM62 was the move Acrobatics. Then in Sword and Shield, it was the move Speed Swap. Well, in the ROM hack Renegade Platinum, TM62 was the move Bug Buzz. And in Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, take a guess what TM62 is now. That's right, Bug Buzz. Coincidence? Maybe. Possible Easter egg? Also maybe. Let me know what you guys think on this one. Seal has arguably the worst name out of any Pokemon. I mean, it's called Seal, and it's literally a seal. Give that a round of applause. I mean, wow. Well, at least that when it evolves, it gets an original name. Well, did you know in the original Pokemon Red and Blue beta, Dewgong was originally going to be called Manatee? I mean, wow. Although friendship was a substantial feature to Gen 2, you might be aware that it was actually introduced in Generation 1. But the friendship itself only affected one Pokemon, and that was your partner Pikachu in Pokemon Yellow. But if you're aware of that, I bet you didn't know that friendship actually had an effect on Pikachu's walking speed. If you have a friendship stat of 80 or above, Pikachu's walking animations will be 2.5 times faster. Shout out to my good friend and Pokemon streamer Troll who showed me this. In Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, there was a Pokemon World map hanging in the house in Dewford Town. But surprisingly enough, that map was not created by Game Freak. That map actually belongs to Serebii.com, a Pokemon information site that is not run by Pokemon themselves, but by fans. A pretty rare occurrence when fan-made content makes it into a Pokemon game. If you are taking a stroll through Romanus Park in Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and then enter a legendary room, but then decide to hatch an egg, it will say that the egg was hatched in Jubilife City. This is because the rooms have no met location, and Jubilife is the none location for these games. Shout out to Anubis who discovered this. Next fact, Canadian Netflix has almost every Ghibli movie. Wait, that's not a Pokemon fact, but that is pretty awesome, though too bad I don't live in Canada. Oh yeah, I have NordVPN, the sponsor of this video. NordVPN is a powerful VPN service that not only protects all your data on 6 of your devices on every major platform, Windows, iOS, Mac, Linux, you name it, but also with a single click allows you to virtually fly to any location you want. Watch your favorite shows that might not be available to you, or just get a better deal on a game or streaming service that you're looking for. It's like playing a Pokemon game that has every region. Not only that, but if you're worried about your internet speed getting a debuff, you're darn wrong. Because not only is NordVPN the fastest VPN on the market, but they actually prevent mean internet service providers from throttling your internet speed. So head over to nordvpn.com/Finn to get 2 years at a huge discount with a bonus month thrown in too. Thank you NordVPN for sponsoring this video. The Safari Zone is an incredibly unique place in Pokemon games that allows every Pokemon there to flee from you. Every Pokemon except one. And that Pokemon is Whiscash in the Sinnoh Safari Zone. Whiscash actually has an error in these games that instead of being pretty likely to flee every turn, it is actually incredibly unlikely to flee each turn. So unlikely that if you were to just chuck things at this Whiscash you encountered, it would actually take you around 250 turns to get it to finally flee. Anyone who has tried chain fishing in Pokemon X and Y will tell you that the ability Suction Cups and Sticky Hold are supposed to boost your rate of getting fishing encounters, and reduce the chance of getting the "not even a nibble" message. But this outside of battle effect has been present in the game since Pokemon Emerald. But interestingly enough, these two abilities were actually bugged in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, and did absolutely nothing outside of battle. But hold on, the fact doesn't actually end here. You'd think that when remaking a game, things like bugs or coding errors would be fixed, but not for a truly faithful remake, because this error is still present in Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. In Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, in the Seafloor Cavern, there's a strength puzzle that you can rearrange into a smiley face. Boom. I'll take my sub, please. Shout out to my buddy Bottle Rocket, he told me about this one. Go check him out. If you're playing any Pokemon game and you overlevel one of your team members to where it no longer obeys you, and then enter a battle, when you use the move Quick Attack or any move with priority, it will actually overpower the disobeying effect and be calculated before the Pokemon gets a chance to be disobedient. While there is plenty of weird glitches in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, there's one that I thought was pretty funny. When nicknaming a fossil Pokemon, instead of saying the name of the Pokemon, it will say your trainer's name instead. Also, while playing through the new games with my girlfriend, she pointed out that the bag icon actually changes depending on what outfit you're wearing, which I never noticed. Dialga and Palkia, if shiny, show up shiny in the opening camera angle of the cutscene. But did you know that although Zacian and Zamazenta were sadly shiny locked, if they could be shiny, they would also show up shiny in the cutscene as well, but for whatever reason, they also would not be affected by the shiny charm whatsoever. Pokemon Emerald was the first game to add outside of battle effects like I talked about earlier. But we all know of the ones like Static that boost the spawn rate of electric-type Pokemon, or Magnapult doing the same for steel types. But there's one outside of battle effect that I bet you don't know about, and was entirely exclusive to Emerald. If the Pokemon in the first slot of your party has the ability Lightning Rod, you will get twice as many calls on your Pokénav, which is annoying. Shout out to Glav in my community who told me about this one. By the way, come shoot me your best obscure Pokemon facts over on Twitter, because tracking down obscure Pokemon knowledge is actually not very easy, and I need all the help I can get. And also, I just want to interact with more of my subscribers. But anyways, next fact. When digging through the code of the Pokemon Diamond and Pearl beta, there was data uncovered for an unused event for Darkrai, where it was originally planned to roam around the Sinnoh region similar to Cresselia and Mesprit. And you can actually still access this and get a roaming Darkrai in your game using a cheating device. The move Tri-Attack is a bit of an oddity in itself, a normal type attack that has a chance to burn, freeze, or paralyze. It's definitely something that Game Freak would have never added nowadays, and if it wasn't for the wackiness that was Generation 1, would probably not be here today. Well, to add to the strange aura of this move, in Generation 2 only, if your Pokemon was frozen and you use the move Tri-Attack, it actually has a possible chance to thaw your opponent. What the heck? Cynthia is what all champions should be, but how is she so strong? Well, let's talk about her Garchomp. A while ago, people did the math and realized that not only is her Garchomp fully EV trained, but it has perfect 31 IVs in every single stat. Wow. Although many people like to claim that the way the color of shiny Pokemon are determined is just a simple palette swap, that is most definitely not always the case. And after I tell you this next fact, I want you to contemplate every single shiny you see from now on. because a lot of them might have hidden meaning that you just don't see at first. This is a really interesting example that I had never even heard about. It takes place in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald on Mount Pyre. There are 3 Pokemon who spawn on the summit of this mountain, being Duskull, Shuppet, and Chimecho. And as you can see by the shiny forms, they all represent the mascot colors of the region, red, blue, and green. But is this as far as the rabbit hole goes? Absolutely not. If you're still skeptical, I think this will convince you. Duskull and Shuppet represent Groudon and Kyogre in this dynamic. They're both troublesome spirits that end up causing a lot of harm and misfortune for people around them, very similar to Kyogre and Groudon in the events of the story. But just like in the events of Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, there is a green Pokemon that resolves and calms the situation. Well, in this analogy, that green Pokemon is Shiny Chimecho. And why does Chimecho represent this? Well, in Japanese culture, since ancient times, bells have been associated with protection. Because of many traditions, there's a deeply rooted belief in Japanese culture that the sound of bells ward off evil and bring safety. And I don't think it's a far reach to connect Chimecho as being the mediator to the chaos of these 2 troublesome Pokemon. And I also don't think it's a coincidence that the shiny colors match the mascots that end up telling a very similar story. That being Kyogre and Groudon causing destruction, and Rayquaza being the mediator and the bringer of protection. Although none of this is concrete, it's always interesting to read into this kind of thing. Let me know if you guys think this is a well-hidden Easter egg or just a complete coincidence. Shout out to Iceflame in my community who told me about this one. And if you genuinely enjoyed watching this video, subscribing and liking tells me there's people out here who enjoyed this kind of thing, and it inspires me to make more.